Hi, I know it's been a minute, and that's because I've been doing a lot of projects. September and the months after it are usually like the craziest months. That's when a lot of people are contacting, businesses are like running again after a long break from summer. And so my priorities were just, a little bit elsewhere, and I've had amazing opportunities that I just couldn't pass up, and I'm learning a lot. And so this is what this video is going to be about. It's actually going to talk about art direction, and I did mention this earlier in my newsletter a couple of weeks back, explaining like why I've been a little bit absent, and it's because I've been taking on such intense projects and projects that were quite different from when I started this YouTube channel. So if you don't know who I am, I'm Anya. I'm a graphic designer, but now also stepping into an art director role. I'm 100% a freelancer, and I also occasionally make videos on my YouTube channel all about design. And in today's video, I'm going to talk about how exactly I transitioned from graphic design to art direction and how you can do it too. But first, a quick word about today's sponsor, Workmate. And honestly, this is one of those tools that makes you wonder how you ever worked without it. You know when you're trying to schedule a call and it turns into this endless back and forth? Does this time work for you? Oh wait, I'm busy. What about next Thursday? And then you lose track of who you've emailed and who never got back. It gets exhausting. That's where Workmate comes in, and honestly, when they reached out, I was very intrigued by this technology. Think of it like having your own executive assistant that exists right in your inbox, and I definitely benefit from this because my emails get so messy. I get a lot of emails, which is like natural for my job, especially someone who is working for herself only, and I'm like the only person in my team. Your Workmate automatically follows up with people who don't reply, so nothing slips through the cracks. You can even set how many days later they should check back in. It's like someone keeping track of all those loose ends for you. Your Workmate fits right into your inbox, Slack, or Teams. No clunky scheduling links. It's just natural conversations like a real assistant would handle. For busy professionals or freelancers like myself, that means reclaiming time every week. Time you can actually spend creating for yourself or for your client or whoever, and finally having some focus time. So if you want to protect your time and still stay accessible, check out Workmate. Link is in the description below, and go and try it out. Thank you so much, Workmate, for sponsoring today's video. And also, what even is art direction? All these terms, graphic designer, art direction, what do they really mean? Because to be honest with you, a year ago, I don't think I even knew myself. And I actually thought creative direction and art direction were the same thing, but it's actually not. They're almost the same, but there's still some differences. So I'm gonna take you back to the very beginning, which was graphic design. Graphic design is everything that is graphic, of course. Usually in the 2D space. If you dabble into the 3D, that's something else. You are a 3D artist at that point. But a graphic designer is someone who produces graphics for an event or for a brand or a company, for a client. Usually the creative direction is already provided by a creative director / art director. There is a brief given to a graphic designer, and so the graphic designer doesn't really have full creative control. They're usually provided a brief, and then it is your job as a graphic designer to provide said brief and requirements of what you need to visually produce for that event. Now, if you're a brand designer, no one really talks about this, but it doesn't actually require only graphic design skills. There's also creative direction involved and brand strategy involved. Graphic designers tend to make a little bit less money because they don't really have the creative control. The larger the project, the more financial opportunity is there. But if you're not really liking the fact that there's not that much creative control, then perhaps what you're interested in is actually art direction. Art direction are people who are in charge of the whole experience, and it's not just about making something look nice and pretty and aesthetic and throwing mood boards together. It's actually curating a whole experience and the guest journey or customer journey, whatever it is that you're designing for, to be as cohesive as possible. And it's typically your job to coordinate that with the rest of the team to make sure that they're following the overall art direction or creative direction of this said event or like brand or whatever it is that you're designing for. For the sake of the video, I'm just going to keep saying event because that's something that I'm falling into more. I'm doing a lot more campaigns and events, and that's what my graphic design is being used for as well. So I think that just comes more naturally with me. There seems to be like a really big obsession on TikTok and Instagram that I'm noticing, that there's like a really big emphasis on like marketing, especially in the music industry. Like the first thing I can think of is like Sabrina Carpenter and her overall image. You can argue that Sabrina Carpenter's marketing and overall image and like the way she dresses, the type of music that she produces, and even the color palette, like that is all art direction. Her image is curated in a way to, first of all, make her iconic and like memorable to her audience, but also when you think of Sabrina Carpenter, you associate her with certain imagery, colors, and a certain vibe. I've been seeing a lot of like art direction commentary on YouTube as well, and especially with like the rise of like AI kind of like taking over the graphics, I think a lot of people are gonna end up stepping into the art direction role. And that was something that I didn't even expect myself. Like I didn't expect that I would be stepping into an art direction role, but then it just kind of happened by accident, and I discovered I actually really like having creative freedom. I've always been a planner. I've always loved mood boards and curating an experience. I think that was really telling in my brand design. I will be honest, I'm kind of straying away from the idea of brand design. It's not something that I'm not super interested in anymore. And I realized I actually all along wanted to be an art director and like kind of like a person that's like a visionary rather than building brands, because although I do have the graphic design skills, I don't think I realized that art direction was an option, like a real job actually. I didn't think it was like a real thing until very recently. I thought that brand design was the answer because like it allows for some creative freedom, but all along it was actually art direction that I really wanted to do. And I'm going to tell you exactly how I did it. So I was hired to be a graphic designer, so I had no absolute creative input whatsoever. It was more so like, this is the look, this is already the set look, I want you to recreate said look, provide deliverables that match the already set overall look and feeling of this event. So I obviously provided my deliverables. I had like extra time on my hands, and I decided to do a little bit extra work to help out the person who hired me. I said, hey, I noticed that you need some concepts that are still need to be decided. So rather than creating deliverables that are ready for print, I actually helped the person give ideas and like sketched up ideas on how like the overall production set was gonna look for the event that I was hired for. This is not what graphic designers do, by the way. This is actually stepping into art direction, which I didn't know about, but I just wanted to help out, and it was a really big client, so I wanted to be as useful as possible, and I wanted to provide a really good service. And granted, it really worked out in my favor because the person who hired me, they actually ended up using my mock-ups and my production set ideas for their event that I wasn't initially hired for. I was just a graphic designer, but I stepped into an art director role like kind of by accident without really realizing what it was. They told me that they were so impressed that they actually hired me for another event as an art director, not just a graphic designer, but actually a graphic designer and an art director, which was very new to me, but I was willing to step in and take that role, and I learned so much, and then the rest is history. And then ever since, I've just been doing a lot of art direction. I've been more curious about it. I've been researching a lot about it too. Like I felt like I was enjoying this line of work infinitely times more than being a brand designer on Instagram. I'm gonna be completely honest with you, which is probably why my Instagram has kind of lost its plot a little bit, because it started off as like a brand designer, but I'm now trying to like flip the script and be like, actually, I'm interested in being an art director. And you know what? That's okay, because with career and with being self-employed, like the whole point is to really explore yourself and recognize like what you like to do. Like you can only really know what you like doing when you try new things, and take that leap of faith to like actually start building something. And along the lines, like as you are, being hired by more people and exposed to different requests, then yeah, of course, you're gonna find out what you like and what you don't like. I still like brand identity, but I don't know, it just doesn't give me much joy out of it because I feel like it's a lot of executing, but there's just not that much creative freedom, whereas like art direction really allows me the open space to think freely and collaborate with other people and, like give myself the creative freedom to produce something that I think is really cool for people. So I would say the art direction, you're definitely involved from the get-go, whereas graphic designer, you're hired later in the process when things are already panned out, when things are already planned and there's like a set number of deliverables. An art director is someone who is there from the start, from the very beginning, from the very beginning of the planning phase all the way to the end, to the finish. And in the planning phase, you're in charge of looking at the color palettes, looking at, other vendors that are available and who you're supposed to work with, like who else to work with on the team, and setting a mood board and pulling images and references together, creating ideas. How should we make this experience elevated for the guest or the customer? So it really, really is about like the overall look and feel. An art director is in charge of how to make the audience feel, whether that's through the experience that the audience is experiencing firsthand, or it's something that the audience feels through the screens, if it's something that's digital and across platforms. And in branding, that might mean like, how does the brand make the audience feel, and how do the visuals align with the brand's personality? So it's a lot more abstract, and then it's your job to like tie everything together. And as an art director, it's your job to make sure that everyone else is following the creative look and feel that's been decided. The first step is usually like sketches. Mood boards is a huge one. You get really good at curating a mood board and communicating exactly the type of feel that you're trying to have everyone on board. It's good art direction when go through an experience, you don't really think about, what does this mean? And what was the idea behind that? It's like everything is cohesive. It looks effortless. And that's when you know that is good art direction, So yeah, it's a little bit of an interesting role. It's a very versatile role, which is why I think not a lot of people are aware of art direction, at least for me. I thought it was just something that people threw around when they were like, I don't know, just like someone that is in charge and is leading a team and like that's it. But they're not like actually the people who have creative skills, if that makes any sense. But I was very wrong, apparently. Okay, so I'm editing right now and I'm in a random cafe in Paris, and I realized I never actually explained the difference between art direction and creative direction. And there's not that big of a difference. An art director takes on a role for a very specific project, so it's like at a smaller scope, whereas a creative director is like in the head and in charge of everything. So you'll see this in like luxury houses. A creative director is someone that sets the direction, the art direction for the entire brand or the entire campaign. So it's the bigger picture, and the art director, they'll branch off of the overall creative direction and then go into the art direction. So that could be for like specific events or specific products. And then the graphic designer follows the art direction that is given. Does that make sense? There's like a whole hierarchy. And I have a prediction that in the next 5 years, you're gonna honestly see this a lot. I predict that art direction is gonna be like an art degree that's gonna be provided in art schools, if not already. I think ideas is gonna be a lot more valuable, especially with who knows how developed AI is gonna be in the art industry, which I already have expressed my thoughts about, but I do think it's going to propel art direction even more and faster. And it's gonna be something that probably will come to you as an opportunity as well as a graphic designer. It'll definitely be something that will be on the horizon for sure. I could have never predicted like a year ago from now on that instead of telling people I'm a brand designer, that I'm now an art director, and I've been taking on art direction projects and stuff, which I find to be a lot more fulfilling and fun. And I enjoy teamwork more that way and stuff. So I hope that you learned something about this, and I want to hear your experience as well if you have been an art director or have been asked to step into an art direction role. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye!